Welcome to another episode of the Podcast Interview Marketing Show. I'm your host, Tom Schwab. And if you've ever wondered how to stand out as a trusted authority in this age of AI, then you're in the right place. Today, I've got a conversation that's not just timely, but timeless. I sit down with a friend, mentor, and a legend in the marketing space. Drew McLellan from the Agency Management Institute and the Build a Better Agency Summit. Now, Drew has hosted over 500 episodes of his own podcast, and he's coached thousands of agency owners. And in this episode, Drew shares why authentic human connection is the ultimate competitive advantage, especially in today's generative AI world. You'll hear why podcasting isn't just content, it's currency. Why showing up with generosity and authority opens doors long before someone ever becomes a client. And most importantly, how being the calm voice in the storm helps your business not just survive, but thrive. So if you're a coach, a consultant, a service-based business owner, this is your wake-up call. If you want to lead your industry, start showing up where your future clients are already listening. Drew, I'm so excited to talk with you today, share it with the world. Here's somebody that has done over 500 podcasts of their own and sees all these agencies through the Agency Management Institute and the Build a Better Agency Summit. So here as we come together in the fall of 2025, talk to me about where you see things in the world today, specifically around podcasting and, agency life.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. And I always enjoy our conversation. So I'm glad to be here. I think it's such an interesting moment. You and I were talking before we hit the record button. One of the things that's true for, I think, most service industries, but certainly for agencies, is that we are expected to be on the front end of every trend, of every shift in the road, that our job is to guide clients strategically through how the world is seeing the world, right? That's our job, is to have that lens and then help our clients understand, as the world is what it is today, which is different than what it was yesterday. How do we connect with customers and prospects in a way that helps our business grow? So when you are bound by that responsibility, what it means is it's a bumpy ride, right? You're in the front car of the roller coaster. And so you're the first one to see the hills and the turns, and you're riding the ride. And so I think there is huge challenges facing businesses today. I think, we've got, you and I are recording this in September of 2025 for those that listen, insequentially. And we've got economic turmoil. We have political unrest. We have, generative AI, and we have all these things that are changing the way we do everything, the way we see the world. And yet, I think because of all of that, I think it's interesting to look at that as both a challenge and an opportunity. And you get to decide if it's insurmountable or it's a ride you want to hop on and take advantage of. And how do you help your clients and prospects have that same attitude? Because if there is one inevitability in our world today, it's change. So if it's not AI, or it's not an economic recession, or it's not, wars in other countries, or whatever it is, it's going to be something else, right? It's going to be something. And so I think for business owners listening to this podcast, they bought a ticket to the ride, and they better just strap in and ride the ride. And it's our job to help our clients be comfortable with the ride. That's what it is, right? And so in this world of everything being automated and all of that, I think being a good human being and creating human connection, which is what's so powerful about podcasts, is more important than ever before, right? Everybody's a little uncomfortable. Everybody's a little nervous. Everybody's a little afraid. Everyone's a little unsure. And when we have those emotions, what we want is genuine human connection. We want somebody to lean on. We want somebody to walk through the fire with. We want somebody that we can trust, that we really know. And I don't know another medium other than being face to face with somebody. I will argue that is always the best course. But other than being face to face, I don't know a better medium than podcasts for creating that connection.
It's interesting. You have the best analogies, and you talked about being in the front row of the roller coaster there.
Yeah.
And that's probably the scariest one, but also everybody behind you is looking at you, your clients, your team. And if you're freaking out, they're freaking out. It makes me think of somebody told me that there's no difference in the emotion of fear or excitement. So if you look at fearfully, everybody that you're leading is going to be scared to death. If you look at it as these are exciting times, they're excited to follow you along in that.
Yeah. And again, it all depends on how they perceive you, right? Is that person in the front of the roller coaster credible? Is that person in the front of the roller coaster like me? More importantly, do they understand who I am and what I care about? Like, do we have a connection? Do they feel credible? And so our job as professionals is to let people have access to who we are, what we're about, so that our credibility is front and center, so that they'll get on the ride. I mean, that's really the trick, right? So we're talking like everybody's already on the ride, but the reality is everybody gets to decide whose roller coaster they get on. And so if they're looking at, 4 tracks of roller coasters and they're like, okay, so who am I going to follow? Who am I going to go on this ride with, this scary opportunity, this scary challenge? You want them to know that you are a genuine human being who's going to be honest and straightforward, who's going to help them get through the ride, but also get the most out of the ride. And I think that's a big part, of what our job is, especially before somebody has hired us to do anything. It's really all about, do I know, like, and trust them? It goes all the way back to marketing 101. Things that I learned back in college way more than a decade ago, right? Do I know who they are? Do I recognize them? Are they a real human being that I recognize? Do I know them? Do I like them? Do they feel like me? Do they feel credible? And do I trust them? And if we can get to that, then they'll get on the roller coaster and they'll go on the ride with us. And that ultimately is our goal as business owners.
That's interesting. And as you were saying that, like, do I know them? Do I trust them? I think we knew each other for years through podcasting before we met in real life at the Build a Better Agency Summit. But even now, when I get your emails, it's interesting. I get so many emails. Some of them get deleted. Some of them get marked spam. But yours I read. And as you were saying that, it's like, I not only read it, I read it slower and in your voice, because I know that's coming from Drew, not AI. And do you think the podcasting is important in building that trust, especially today, and where everybody goes, oh, this is, ChatGPT who just wrote this?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I've been like you, I've been podcasting, it feels like forever. And, whenever I meet someone in person who is a listener, I hear 2 things. Number one, they recognize me by my voice. Like, someone will walk around the corner at the summit, the conference that we host every year for agency owners and leaders. And someone will walk around the corner and go, and I'll hear them. They'll go, I know that voice. So I'm talking to someone, right? And they're like, oh, I know that voice. So again, they make that connection, and we know how powerful our, auditory connections are, right? And number 2, what they say to me is, after we've talked for 3 minutes, they'll go, you know what? You're exactly how I thought you would be. Right. So you think about the trust factor of that. What happens in a podcast is, I don't care what the topic of your podcast is. If you're a good podcaster, people who listen cannot help but get a sense of who you are and what you're about. And that's all about know, like, and trust. And so, I think in this world of everything is artificially created, the authenticity of our voice and of our who we are and how we show up in conversation is critical. I think it's absolutely critical to business today. I don't think it's ever been more important than it is right now when the world is, going to ChatGPT or the tool of the day and creating content.
And it's also, as you said that, it's like, it's magnetic marketing. So those people that like who Drew is will like who the community is. They'll be drawn to that. If they listen to you on the first episode and aren't drawn to that, well, doesn't mean they're bad or you're bad, but it's not a good fit. So it's like you're almost the Pied Piper of pulling your ideal client profile and the ideal community in there with your voice.
Well, that's what marketing should do. And let's be honest, podcasting is marketing, but that's what marketing should do, right? It should both attract and repel. And it is equally important that it repels the wrong people, because otherwise we waste our time and energy chasing after clients that we can't make happy, that we can't connect with, that we can't add value for. So far better for them to tap out early in the process and go, you know what? I think he's kind of a doofus, or I don't trust him, or I don't know whatever vibe they get. It's better for them to go, this is not my person. And it's powerful when somebody goes, and we know this, in the book that I wrote with Stephen Westner, Sell with Authority, we talk about the power of being a subject matter expert, of being an authority. And when I'm an authority and people believe after spending time with me on podcasts or whatever they do, and this is the same with your audience, when they recognize that you know what you're talking about, then it's just a matter of time. When they're ready to buy, you're already in the consideration set. So the sales cycle is much shorter. It's really a chemistry check at that point. That's all it is, right? It's not about, does he or she know her stuff? Are they knowledgeable? They've already consumed enough of our content to know that we either know our stuff, or again, they've tapped out because they think we don't know our stuff. Because that's what everyone's looking for is, I want a Sherpa who can wisely guide me up the mountain and get me to the summit, right? That's what I want. And so are we their Sherpa? That's really the question they're asking in the buying phase. And if they've spent time listening to us or reading our newsletter, or whatever our marketing, tactic is, and they're like, every time I listen to this person, I'm sure you have this too, but I have people say to me all the time, I swear to God, you are bugging our conference room. It freaks us out a little bit when we listen to an episode because you're talking about something we just talked about. Well, yeah, I'm talking to 300 of you a week. Of course, I'm talking about what you're talking about because I've been talking about it all week too. And so all of that builds that know, like, trust, and then brings them closer. And then we just have to be really relevant and important to them until the day they actually need to hire us. Because that's the other thing in the service industry. We don't have a President's Day sale. We don't have it's Christmas is coming, therefore everyone's going to buy from us. We don't have any way of triggering it. We don't have a buy one, get one free coupon or a Groupon. We have to wait until the prospect needs us and is ready to hire us for whatever reason that is. So we just have to be present, and we just have to be patient, and we have to be relevant and valuable every day until that day, that Tuesday, when they're like, I got to hire an agency, or I got to hire a fill in the blank, whatever somebody is. That's the way our world works. But when they say that, if they're already halfway down the path because they've been listening to your podcast for a year and they're like, I have to hire an accountant, a lawyer, an agency, and I need one now, who am I going to call? We're on the short list. And if we've done a really great job, we're the only one, right? We're the Harley Davidson. They don't want any other kind of motorcycle. They just want us.
Well, and I think of that too, of it's not only for us, but business owners know business owners, right? When somebody puts on a WhatsApp through Entrepreneurs Organization and has a question and say, this is the challenge I'm going through, who am I going to recommend? It's the person that I trust, that I know. And, I've even seen that now, with AI, right? People go to their friend ChatGPT and ask questions, and who is top of mind there because they're putting out the information.
Well, think about how you risk your credibility when you make a recommendation to somebody else. I mean, that is a very vulnerable position to be in, right? Like you have a business problem. I'm going to tell you who to call. And if that person drops the ball or isn't authentic or isn't good at what they do, not only are you in trouble now, but I'm in trouble because I'm the one who sent you to them. And so the power of a referral or a recommendation is so valuable, but it's so risky. And so again, I know this sounds ridiculous. It's 2025, but I'm telling you, the marketing axiom of know, like, trust has never been more important than now, because now that we have computers telling us things, and every time anyone talks about ChatGPT, and really you can say ChatGPT, but you can say that's really a substitute for all AI, because it's, ChatGPT is becoming the Kleenex of AI, as we just use ChatGPT as the generic. But anytime someone talks to you about AI, what they say is, but be careful because it's not always accurate, right? And so our credibility as humans is even more valuable now because the tool we're all leaning on, we all have to trust but verify.
And I always think of a recommendation. It's almost like the mob, right? If I vouch for you and you turn out to be a rat, we're both in trouble. Right.
Right.
And it's that
Absolutely.
same thing. If you're introducing somebody to help a problem and help a business, you just vouched for them. So you're putting your responsibility and in your relationship on the line too.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And so, I think one of the ways that we can help our own business is, in essence, being our own referral source by being that subject matter expert, by being that authority, by teaching every day what we know, giving away all of our smarts, because we're sort of our own referral source. Then we're now proving over and over and over again that we know what we're talking about. And this is, I think, a really critical element in today's world, is they also get a sense of who we are, and how we are, right? So if somebody wants somebody who's really formal and in a suit and tie sort of guy, I'm not their guy. AMI is probably not their place. It's not who we are, right? I mean, do I own a tie? Yes. Do I wear them? Mostly to funerals. That's it, right? So if they want somebody really buttoned up like that, and that's important to them, they're going to know by listening to a couple podcasts that I'm not that formal, that I'm not that, that sort of suited up. And so I think one of the things that we can do in all of our marketing is we can be helpful. I think we can be authentic. And I think we can be, help clients sort out every one of us has lots of competitors. So you can just sort of sort out which of us are a good fit. So on the day you're ready to hire someone, you've got a leg up and you can quickly get to the subset of 3 that you want to interview, or the one that you're going to ask for a proposal. And that's really the power, I think, of marketing. It's always been the power of marketing. It just is more important than ever.
I heard somebody say that when you say I'm better, faster, cheaper, that's a synonym for the same, right? I'm comparable. And what you're talking about is how to be unique, right? How to be the one that the category of one where people are like, no, nothing is like AMI. No one's like Drew, right? There's other people that do the same or similar things, but nobody does the same thing.
Well, again, it's the Harley Davidson. So you might have to wait 3 years for the bike that you want. You're going to pay a premium for it, but you don't care because that's the only bike that you want. And ideally, that's what we want for our brand and for our business, is that people are like, well, I know that company is a little more expensive, but I also know that they really know their stuff. And I love the way they approach doing taxes or the law, or, helping agency owners, or teaching people, how to podcast and getting on the right shows, whatever it is that we all do. They want us because we have a depth of expertise that adds value to them. And I think this is the key. When we spend money, it's not that we don't want to spend the money. It's just that we don't want to make the mistake of spending the money wrong. And so what's powerful about, and you and I have talked about this, what's powerful about being on other podcasts, being a guest on podcasts, or having your own podcast, I think in a lot of ways, they are the flip sides of the coin, is that people cannot help but get a sense of who you are, what you know, and what it would be like to work with you. And that is, in essence, another way of saying know, like, and trust.
Yeah. In some ways, it's sort of that try before you buy, right? Products, I can look at I can look at a spec sheet for a computer and compare them, right? But services are bought. It's like I've got to understand the person because I'm betting on the jockey, not the horse. And so one of the things that I respect about you so much is that everybody's got an opinion, right? And they make it off of one data point, right? And that's their North Star. That's the truth. It's like you're talking with agency owners, marketing firms all the time. And so you've got all these different data points. And I go to the Build a Better Agency Summit just to get your sense of all these different data points, where the world is going. It's like being a fortune teller. So I know that doesn't come out till May, right? But where's your sense sort of halfway through the year here? What are you seeing, especially around AI, not only what agencies are looking at, but what clients are looking at and what's important to them?
It's an interesting moment in time. And the interesting moment in time is that change is inevitable, and we have to get super comfortable with the fact that it's not slowing down. Like that the train is moving faster and faster, and change is coming more rapidly. And we have to be, and this is not just true about agencies, but it is certainly true about agencies. We kind of have to be in the front seat of the ride, of the roller coaster, because we have to guide our clients through it. And so we have to get comfortable with the big hills and valleys and dips and turns, because that's our world. And so recognizing that, and then sort of adopting an attitude of, I am going to be ready to keep shifting and pivoting as the world changes. Understanding that there are some foundational truths that were true in 1930, that were true in 1950, that were true in 1970, that are true in 2025, and are going to be true in 2050. That is, and again, it's really about business basics. And so when you marry the technology and the changes of today with the truths that are never going to change, now we have a way of looking at the products and services we offer clients. And we have to figure out, I'm going to use these new technologies, these new tools, but I still also have to honor the foundational business truths that in a service industry have never, ever changed and are never going to change. And so it's really about getting comfortable, because our job in a lot of ways is helping our clients get comfortable, is calming the storm for them. And so we have to be calm. We cannot be chaos. But it's also, I think, the other part of that is that it's really about having the right perspective, which is, I think a lot of people are freaking out about AI right now. And it is amazing and remarkable, but it's a tool. It's no different than, you and I are old enough that we remember the time when businesses didn't have computers, and all of a sudden everybody had a computer. And everyone swore it was going to put people out of business, and nobody was going to have a job, and computers were going to do everything. And it didn't do that. It was just a tool that helped us do some things better and faster. And that's what AI is too. And so it's really about how do we be the guide, that Sherpa. Danielle and I are using that term a lot, that idea of, all right, so you're at the bottom of the mountain, you want to get to the top of the mountain. Who are you going to hire that knows exactly what to put in the backpack of the donkey, that knows how to lead the donkey, that's been on that path a million times, that no matter what the weather is, no matter what happens, no matter if somebody twists their ankle, they have everything that we need to successfully and safely get to the top of the mountain. Being that Sherpa for our clients is more important than ever before. It's what we've always done. The difference is, we used to stand at the bottom of the hill, and we used to make all the stuff that goes in the packs. And today, what agencies really have to recognize is what we are selling and what we are being paid for, and where we add value is that we know the path and we will lead them on the path. It's not so much about the stuff anymore, because the reality is it is faster and easier in some cases to use tools to make the stuff. And in some cases, the clients are going to say, well, you know what? I can do that internally, but I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do, and then I can do it. And so agencies have to change the way they think about how they make a dollar, which is we have to be the Sherpa and less worried about making the stuff, which honestly, I've been talking about for a decade. We've talked about it before COVID. We talked about it after COVID. It's becoming a much more strategic guide and leader sort of a role. And so agencies are selling more strategy. They're selling more insight. They're selling more, my job is to walk alongside you and keep you calm during this chaotic economic time, whatever that is, and a little less of, oh, you want me to make the widget for you.
And as you said that, I thought of like podcast guests, right? It's not, you don't get on there. Here's the 5 hacks to make 5 figures in 5 seconds, right? That they can use AI, chat GPT. It's not an interesting conversation. It doesn't set you up with any expertise, but when you can give them that framework, that reassurance of, I'm not just a influencer. I'm not just an expert. I'm an authority. I've done it for years. I've seen all of that. That's the calmness and the value that it brings to people.
Right. Because I think one of the things we have to remember is if we get it wrong, our clients get fired. I mean, they're taking a huge personal and professional risk by hiring us as agency folks or hiring a business lawyer or hiring a business accountant. If we do it wrong, on the client side, if we do it wrong, we're going to lose a client, and that's nobody loves that. But if we do it wrong for our client, it means they can't pay their mortgage because they got fired. And so the depth of trust that we must instill and then really honor and respect. So it's one thing to have somebody trust you to hire you. It's a whole different level of trust once you're in a relationship together and you're halfway up the mountain and the storm comes in, because that's inevitable, right? We all know that. We really do have to keep our clients safe. We really do have to understand how to put up the tent or how to bandage the broken ankle or whatever it is, whatever the analogy is. We have to be that authority on that mountain and keep them safe, because otherwise they pay the price. And so that's, at the end of the day, that's our job before we get hired, and certainly after we get hired, is to be that genuine guide and Sherpa.
I'm going to ask a question. It's purely for personal reasons here. And as I'm talking to people, there are certain times where I will tell them, here's the problems that you're going to see, right? If you go down this path, this is the problems you will see. This is what you will experience. And I lay the plan out for them. They choose to take another path. And 6 months later, they come back and say, all of those things you talked about came true, right? And it was painful and all the rest of that. And I don't want to say I told you so, but in some ways it's like, okay, we'll pick it up from here and go on there. But I also feel personally responsible. It's like I should have pushed them harder to realize this, that they shouldn't go up on the mountain by themselves or with a new Sherpa. How do you think about that? Because I respect you and how you build the business. How do you work with people like that? And how do you frame that?
You know what? The reality is we cannot make them make a decision they're not ready to make. We cannot make them decide to spend more money. Oftentimes when we don't get hired, it's because somebody does what we do, but they do it less expensively. I mean, I think that's true for anybody in the service industry. We cannot help them decide that they are better off to spend a little bit more to get the value that we bring. Sometimes they have to have a bad experience before they're ready to come around and go, now I get why that investment is worth it. What we can do though, and I think this is really important, is I think we can do a couple of things. Number one, I think we can tell them the truth. Like, hey, here's what that mountain is. Here's what, when you get to 10,000 feet, this is what's going to happen on that mountain. I know that because I've been up there every day for the last X number of decades, right? So just be prepared for that. Number two, if they don't hire you, then what is about being a good human being is to be able to say to them, hey, you know what? I'm sorry that this didn't work out. I'm sorry we're not the right choice, but I just want to give you these tools, right? I want to give you a little map, or I want to tell you about the powder you put in the water, or whatever it is, because when you get to 10,000 feet, no matter who you're with, you're going to need this stuff. And I'm not sure they're going to give it to you. So I'm going to give you some tools. And that's some of the content that all of us create on a regular basis, where we are providing guidance and helpful information, kind of a map for them to follow, whether they go with us or not. And then when they come back, right, then I think we do that with such grace. And we, to your point, we see where they're at. They're a little battered and beaten up because, boy, they got stuck in a storm at 10,000 feet. Our job now is to build a fire for them, get them warm, get them some clean clothes, get them some, and say, all right, tomorrow morning, we're going to start over. And this time you're going to have a different experience, and it's okay. And we have to sort of recognize the vulnerability that it takes for them to come back and go, I know I said you were too expensive, or whatever the thing was. But now I need your help. And we have to just be able to be gracious in that. But I do think inviting them in to stay connected to you, even when they don't hire you, so that they get little bits of the help that we could offer them if we got hired. I think that's the way, again, to earn their trust, to demonstrate that we're not just in it to stick our hand in their pocket and take money from them, that we genuinely understand and know what we know, and we have the experience that we have, but B, and I think this is critical, that we actually care that they get up the mountain safely and have a good experience. And even if they're not our client, we will do what we can, what is reasonable, and in some cases, what is unreasonable, to help them have a good journey, whether they're with us or not. I think when you do all of that, then you can sort of feel good about, no matter how it plays out, you did everything you could to set them up for success. But ultimately, they're grown-ups and they get to make their own decisions. And sometimes they pick somebody different. And sometimes that works out great for them, and sometimes it doesn't work out so great.
I heard somebody refer to someone as they were ruthless. And it's like, I never want that word used about me. And you used one, gracious, right? I want to be known as the gracious person. And I think of you, I jokingly say, you could not be convicted by anywhere in the United States, right? You couldn't find a dozen people that didn't know and love Drew, right? To be on a jury. So Drew, thank you for
I hope that is true. That's very kind.
Thank you for all you do, all you are, and all you do to support us. Final thought here. You're talking to somebody that is an agency owner, a marketing person. What final words of wisdom would you have today here in September 2025?
Take a deep breath and remember, this is not your first rodeo. You have weathered, in many cases, you have weathered the Great Recession. You have weathered COVID. You have weathered things that are unprecedented. We've used that word so much that it's almost meaningless, right? The reality is, the world we live in today, the pace of change is relentless. And every day there is something unprecedented that we're dealing with. And your job is to be the calm in the storm. You're the eye in the storm. And when you can be calm and you can be thoughtful and you can sort of remember that there are two halves to this. One is there are fundamental truths that have been true forever and will be true forever. And there's new ways of going up the mountain. There's new equipment. There's new tools that genuinely make it better, make it faster, make it easier. Your job is to marry those two and to be the trusted guide. And if you can do that, your business is going to be just fine. Yes. Will your employees look different in 3 years? Absolutely. We're already seeing it. That's true. Think about before COVID, we were all in an office 5 days a week. Most people aren't that anymore. You know what? We survived that. You are a survivor, and your job is to help your clients feel the calm that you have because you're a seasoned professional, because you've seen it all before. This is just a new flavor of change. and you can get them safely up the mountain. That's always been your job. It will always be your job. So just be confident in what you're doing. Be curious. I mean, you've always had to be a lifelong learner. Well, guess what? You got to be a lifelong learner now. In a lot of ways, this is no different than the reality you have always known. You just need to find your calm in it. And the more you can feel centered and calm and be that trusted guide, the more your business is going to grow, because the value of that just gets more and more exponentially important every single day. And I don't think that's ever going to change.
Drew, what's ordinary to you is amazing to others. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
What an insightful conversation with Drew McLellan. If you took nothing else away, remember this. You are the Sherpa that your clients are looking for. They don't need another vendor. They need a trusted guide who's walked the path and can help them navigate change with clarity and calm. Drew reminded us that in this world of uncertainty, what builds trust isn't more volume or attention. It's authenticity and authority. Podcast interviews aren't just about pitching. They're about positioning yourself as the trusted voice that your ideal clients turn to. Not just when they're ready to buy, but when they need guidance. So here's your actionable step. Commit to showing up consistently on the right podcast. Not for ego and exposure, but for true human connection. Because as Drew said, the know, like, and trust formula, it's not outdated. It's more valuable than ever. And if you're ready to turn your expertise into a magnet for your ideal clients, we should talk at Interview Valet. I'd love to show you how podcast interview marketing can grow your brand and grow your business. Until next time, stay strong. The world needs to hear you now more than ever.